Hi, I'm Sharon Pederson, and I'd like to share with you the way I put reversible binding on my quilts. I make a lot of reversible quilts, and sometimes the binding would ruin one side if you used a color that was too dark or something, so I very quickly figured out how to make it reversible. And you'll find this a really easy technique. First, you have to choose your two colors. So this was pretty much a no-brainer, wasn't it? The binding for this side is going to match this lovely fabric, and similarly, the binding for the back is going to be the same as the border. Now, one of these two has to be 1 3/4 inches wide, and then you'll fold it in half and press it. So I now have this one folded in half and pressed. The other one is 1 1/8 inches wide, and you don't do anything to it, you just leave it flat. Now the next step is to take the two pieces. If this one has a right and wrong side, it goes right sides together with the folded one, and with a 1/4 inch seam you're going to sew those two pieces together. And of course you can see what that leaves on this green one is a 1/4 inch, isn't it? So we'll sew those two pieces together. Ta-da! There, I've sewn them. All right, I cheated. Now the next step, and this is quite subtle, so we're going to have to get the camera in really close, because what I do on my binding is that's where I put my label. And so I've monogrammed it, and I don't know that you're going to be able to see it, but trust me, I've stitched out, it says here on the blue fabric, made by Sharon Pederson, Black Creek, BC, 2011. So that is the next step for me, because on a reversible quilt there's no place to put a label. Now once you've done the monogramming, then you're going to take it to the ironing board and you're going to iron the seam open. So you can see here I've ironed the seam open, so the green fabric is facing this way and the blue fabric, both pieces of the blue, are facing that way. And the reason you do that is after you've sewn it to the quilt, you're going to want it to fold perfectly where those two fabrics join, and by creasing it, it really does want to fold right there. So next step is to take this single thickness, which is the green side, and we're going to sew it to one side of our quilt block here, or our quilt. And because there's batting in here, you will be using a walking foot, because as soon as you have batting in something, it means you're quilting, and you should have your walking foot on. So I'm lining up the green single thickness of the binding with the edge of the quilt, and with a 1/4 inch seam, I'm going to sew it on. Now, I don't bother with pins a whole lot. If you're a pin person, then by all means use some pins to keep it straight, but cotton is so forgiving. It really is, like it has little Velcro fingers, and it holds on to itself. So I don't bother with the pins very often. Okay, so we've sewn that to one side of the quilt, and those of you who are paying attention have noticed that I have also sewn the binding to the opposite side. So when I'm doing reversible bindings, I sew on opposite sides first. Now, I'm going to trim this and turn it, so if you go and pour yourself a cup of coffee, I'll get that done, and then I'll show you the next step.